makes 4 of us. I usually get my stationery items from Kingdom, and my teacher also mentioned that our classroom furniture was provided by Kingdom.
So there you have it. Whenever you're thinking about setting up an office or acquiring furniture for your home, etc., Kingdom Books and Stationery should be your first point of call. With over 40 years experience in the industry, we stock and supply a wide variety of globally sourced office and home furniture, stationery and equipment. Visit our head office, Osu Akwaje, or our office near the Osu Stadium. We're also in Tema Community 1, opposite Olam SHS, Kumasi KNUST Campus, UCC Cape Coast, and now at the Marina Mall, Airport City. Or call us 0302 764101, 764209, or 762792. Visit our website www.kingdomgh.com.
Businesses know how important it is to create a productive and supportive working environment by investing in employees' health. With a leading international track record, Apex Health Insurance is licensed to provide medical insurance services to corporate organizations and SMEs. We also have international LH Blue cover and TPAs to cushion you. Multinational companies, factories, and government agencies, focus on your business while Apex Insurance takes care of your health. Visit Apex Health Insurance office at Zion House, Boundary Road, Shiashi, Kumasi, opposite Prempeh College, Sofo Line, and Takrady Market Circle. For further inquiries, call 0501 562 962 or 0501 552 495. Apex Health, your preferred health insurer.
Welcome back to Ghana Connect. And like I told you, it's a big conversation about the persons that are expected to help John Dramani Mahama to deliver his 4-year mandate as president. The president has appointed so far 11 of the persons who will be helping him man the various ministries. And the names have been going around. And while the president is yet to fully constitute his cabinet, in fact, the promise he made was that the cabinet will be duly constituted by next week, Tuesday, which will be 14 days since he would have assumed office. And the indication we are getting is that on Monday, the final batch of ministerial nominees will drop before the president start considering names for deputy ministers. Of course, the president is also still in the process of filling up certain state-owned enterprises and other non-subvented agencies that the government controls. And so those appointments are still ongoing. There's still a lot of names that haven't really come up yet, and those names are yet to get on that white sheet that is usually signed by Felix Ofosu-Kwakye. And so some people have been talking about this Daddy Lumba song about how things are looking. It's looking scary for some people, but these are the names that John Dramani Mahama so far put forward. Honorable Dr. Cassiel Atoforsen, Minister for Finance Designate; John Abdullah Jinapo, Minister for Energy Designate; Honorable Dominic Akrotinga Ayene, Attorney General and Minister for Justice Designate. These 3 persons have already been vetted, but there's also Haruna Idrisu, Minister for Education Designate; Eric Opoku, Minister for Food and Agriculture Designate; Honorable Kwame Govins Agboja, Minister for Roads and Highways Designate; Honorable Ahmed Ibrahim, Minister for Local Government, Chieftaincy and Religious Affairs Designate; Honorable Elizabeth Ofosu Ejare, Minister for Trade, Agribusiness and Industry designate Honorable Abla Jifago Mashi. Minister for Tourism, Culture and Creative Arts designate Honorable Dr. Agnes Namumulati. The Minister for Gender, Children and Social Protection designate Honorable Emilia Arthur, the MP for Shamar. Minister for Fisheries and Aquaculture designate. And then finally, George Opare Addo, Minister for Youth Development and Empowerment designate. So John Dramani Mahama has 11 more names to fill. And with those 11 names set to be announced either by Tuesday, other persons who've been lobbying hard and fast are saying some prayers. And John Dramani Mahama will, on Monday, as we understand, announce the last batch of ministerial nominees, the 23 ministries that he has streamlined to operate under his governance. The names will come, and then Parliament will continue the vetting process. But that is not all we are doing on Ghana Connect today. We are looking at two of the very important ministries John Dramani Mahama has put some persons to lead. The Education Ministry, the biggest budget item of all the ministries, in particular in the last 8 years since Free SHS started. There's also the Ministry of Youth Development that is going to be headed by NDC's National Youth Organizer, George Opare Pablo. And those two ministries are going to be our focus today, as well as all these issues. So it's going to be a conversation that I think a lot of people will be willing to chip in and get some understanding of what exactly is going on. So please do send us a message, 055 1111997. Please tell me, do you trust the hands that John Dramani Mahama have put in charge of some of these ministries? Are they capable hands enough to lead the ministries? And which names have so far been missing, in your opinion? And where are you looking to John Dramani Mahama putting them? And I have Mo Salamandani, an international policy analyst, is also a research assistant at the University of Belgrade. Is connecting with us. Mo, it's good to have you connect with us again.
Kwaku, it's always a pleasure. Thank you very much for having me. A lovely good evening to your listeners all over the country.
Great. Daniel Opontrem is immediate past president of the National Union of Ghana Students. Daniel, it's good to have you on Ghana Connect.
Yeah, thank you, Frimpong. I'm glad to have you here.
Well, this is Kwaku Asante. and Dr. Peter Pate Anti, Executive Secretary of the Institute for Education Studies, IFEST. Doc, it's good to have you connect with us on Ghana Connect.
Thank you very much. Expecting an interesting conversation.
Definitely. And then our own colleague from PON is also in the studio. So I come to you, Dr. Pitante, because I'm really interested in getting to know what you think about Haruna Idris's nomination. I'll come to you pretty shortly on that. But Mo Salam, you've been looking at the list. Has any name stood out for you so far? And for the persons who are yet to make it to John Dramani Mahama's government and the cabinet, which names stand out for you in particular of those missing out so far? Because, of course, the appointments have not concluded.
All right. Thank you very much, Kwaku. I think this question is lingering in the minds of a lot of Ghanaians at the moment. But for me, what I think, is surprising is the fact that the Fabrizio of the appointment himself has not been mentioned yet. I'm talking about the acting spokesperson for the president, Felix Ofosu-Kwakye. And another one is the popular Sam George. His name has not been mentioned yet, and it's something a lot of people, especially netizens, have been talking about. These are the people, and also most importantly, if you've observed, you will see that the people who are closer to the president, you can say the people who are in his inner circle, have not had their appointment yet. Talking about the likes of the Honorable Joyce Bawa Mokhtari, Sam George, Felix Ofosu-Kwakye, Omani Boama, and the rest. But I don't know what he's planning. I don't know what his plans are. But these are the names that many people are still, waiting for to hear about. But for the appointment that has come up yet, the one thing that is striking for me is the one that you brought out. That is the appointment of the Honorable Haruna Idrisu to the Education Ministry. And so that is one of the appointments that stood out for me in all of this.
Great. I mean, Collins, you've also been looking at the list. Any names standing out for you so far? Those on the list and those outside of it? Collins, your mic is not on. We'll fix that pretty shortly and then we'll get back to you. I think it's on now. You
right. I'm going to start with those on the list. And I think I was really surprised to see Honorable Haruna Idrisu being named as the Minister of Education, in as much as he's competent enough to handle the ministry. Because critically, if you look at that particular ministry, Ministry of Education, it is the ministry that is really having one of the most challenges that we are facing in the country at the moment with regards to free senior high school foods, reviewing our curriculum, and a lot of things surrounding it. And looking at past history, one would have thought if Honorable Kujeto Ablakwa is not going to be the Minister of Education, then maybe one Clement Apak or Peter Kuti will be the Minister of Education. But surprisingly, Honorable Haruna Idrisu, who was tipped to be the Minister for Defense, became the Minister for Education designate. But he not going to the defense, I think it is a good idea, because for me, I think we should have a minister or Minister for Defense who has no interest in the affairs of what is happening in the northern region. So when we want to solve the issues, the tribal conflict over there, the person doesn't put in sentiment. Even if the person is not part of the ethnic groups who are currently involved in conflict, since you are from there, definitely you may want to take a stand. But if you get somebody who is going to man the Ministry of Defense and has nothing to do with the northern part of Ghana, I think it will be the best idea. So Honorable Haruna Idrisu not going to the Ministry of Defense.
Because the last Minister for Defense was Dominic Niti, from the northern region.
Right. That's why I'm saying that. And what became of that? We couldn't solve.
He did deliver his mandate for 8 years. I mean, I don't think you can isolate Boku as
that's fine. As failure. But all of them are part of it. But I think going forward, we need to have a Minister for Defense who has nothing to do with. He has no ties with the northern region. And Honorable Haruna is not going there.
The northern region is also not necessarily a monolith, right?
Right.
So there's the northern region itself. I mean, Boku is, I think, Upper East.
Yes.
And that's where the conflict
is. The northern part of the 4 regions in the northern part of Ghana.
There was conflict in the southern part.
That's fine. That's fine. But for now, this is what we are discussing, so that the person doesn't have any sort of emotional attachment, that those kind of sentiments. So I think it was a good idea not to send Honorable Haruna Idrisu there. But he being at the Ministry of Education, I'm really interested in that.
We'll come to the specifics of the education.
Yes.
Mo, just make that briefly, and then let me go to Sherry.
Yes, it's important that we put the matter into proper perspective. What Collins is saying may appear as very bigoted, and it is sending a wrong signal. And as a person from the north, as a Dagomba man, and from the northern region itself, we need to move away from talking about the north as if it is one village where everyone knows everybody's name. That is not the case. The northern region is a region on its own. We have Savannah region, we have Upper East and Upper West. We had about 6 northern regions in the country. And so when people make these comments about the north as in like a single entity where we are savages, it's like there's war in the north. So this picture he's painting is erroneous. It doesn't reflect what is happening on the ground. And I don't think it is legitimate for people to advance the argument that we cannot have a defense minister coming from the north because there's a so-called conflict in the north, as if the north is one entity.
I think he meant the northern parts of the country, and of course, you can have a legitimate argument about maybe lumping up everything together. But his point, I guess, is that but that's why I was asking him if the same thing was for the southern part of the country. But that is just by the way. And so, Mo Salam, thanks for that intervention that you made. But Shemi, let me also hear from you very briefly on the list so far, where everyone has gone, the list we've seen, the big names on it, and those ones that are yet to have their names on that white sheet of Felix Ofosu-Kwakye.
All right, Kwaku, good evening to your listeners once again. And for me, as a youth advocate and somebody who is much interested in youth development, I think one of the key places I'm looking at is the youth ministry and also the education ministry, because the very foundation and even progress of our country is hinged on education. So at a point, sitting back, I was looking at somebody who is much into the education, who has a lot of experience, a lot of knowledge when it comes to educational related issues. Notwithstanding, Honorable Haruna Idrisu, as the former NUCS president and even having experience in matters regarding politics and having been in parliament for all this while, there's a lot I'm expecting from him, though he's not much into education, but looking at his years of experience, I'm looking at him using or riding on the experience to really cause a lot of changes and also see things working, especially in the education sector. When you look at what the former Minister for Education has done when it comes to education, looking at the progress and the substantial changes happening, we are looking forward that perhaps you'll be able to come and also continue the good works or even introduce new things that at a point will enhance free senior high school, feeding issues, teacher training allowance, and what have you. When it comes to the youth ministry, that particular ministry is a very ministry that a lot of people are looking and expecting a lot of things from, because over the past years, I've asserted on countless platforms that the Ministry of Youth and Sport, the youth section should be distant from the sport, so that at the end of the day, we could get ample time to train and even enhance youth activities in the country. So we are looking and expecting a lot from the youth organizer of the NDC, who have served since 2018 till now. Perhaps we do believe has a lot of experiences, and we are expecting a lot from him in that aspect.
I mean, Peter, now let me come to you substantively. The education ministry is big, and in fact, their budget is huge. In the last few years, it's had the biggest budget of all ministries, and in particular, the names have been banding around in terms of who exactly was going to go to the ministry. Finally, we know it is going to be Haruna Idrisu if he goes through the parliamentary vetting successfully. You have been watching the education sector for quite some time now. Is he the right fit? Hello, Peter. Peter Party.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Great. Thank you very much, and good evening to your listeners. I think that the education sector is called a system. And when we talk about a system, we are looking at various parts that come together to form a whole. And to get someone to manage the affairs of education sector, you need someone who is a systems thinker, someone who is able to connect various parts to perform towards the achievement of a particular goal or aim. And that is where I take the Honorable Haruna from. If you have followed him, his politics and his work, his leadership in the Ghanaian politics, you would understand that one of the critical challenges that the education sector faces is constant uh, employee agitations from the various unions. So you know that even currently, as we talking, CTAG is on strike. I wouldn't be surprised that very soon you hear from NATS, NAGRATS, you hear from UTAG, you hear from TUTAG, and all the various associations that demand certain kinds of welfare for their members. So you need to get somebody who understands labor relations. And the honorable minister, former minister, has been a former minister of labor, employment and labor relations before. So he understands how to manage labor unions. And I think that's the first thing, because you need stability in your education sector. One of the things that we have taken for granted is that at a point in time, a lot of people from Nigeria started trooping into Ghanaian universities, and it was because of the stability of academic calendar. They knew that if they start academic year by, let's say, today, they have 4 years that they will be able to finish, and they are able to finish exactly. But that is not what they were experiencing in their country and other African countries. So it became very okay for people to move all over the world to come to Ghana because of the stability of academic calendar. We have had a lot of distortions because of labor agitations and other things. And I think that the president was thinking about somebody who understands labor relations, not necessarily the education matter. I'll talk about the technicalities of the education issues. But he was thinking about somebody who understands labor relations, somebody who can bring some kind of stability to the labor front in the education sector, so that academic calendars can run smoothly, and then we will have some sort of peace in the sector. Again, he is someone who has headed the trade and industry ministry before. You agree with me that in this country, one of the biggest challenges that we have faced is the fact that we complain constantly that there seems not to be any kind of linkage between our academic, the school system and industry. And as such, people, and as, hello, can you hear me? Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, Peter, I can hear you.
All right, sure, sorry. And as such, people will tell you that they have done this, they have done that, but they are not able to find any kind of employment. With his idea and understanding of the industry system in Ghana, he comes to the job with that experience to link our educational system to industry. And I would be very much interested to see how, with his experience and understanding of the Ghanaian industry, he will be able to find ways and means to ensure, especially when he takes the technical education front, he will be able to ensure that technical vocational education is linked to Ghanaian industry. Again, he's somebody who's also headed the communications department. Ministry of Communications. He's an IT person. Information technology person. He understands the field that we are in. We are at a time where we are trying to introduce technology into our educational system. There's somebody who understands all the kinds of communication technologies that we have built, and the policies therein. So I think that he comes to the ministry with a lot of experience. His politics, his leadership role as a minority leader in parliament, he comes in with a lot of experience that any Ministry of Education would need. So personally, I will not look at the technical bit of it, because I've said on other platforms that what the president would need to do is to get somebody who is a sector person to be his deputy. But for the oversight and the leadership and directing of the ministry, you need somebody with his caliber, somebody who's got a clout, somebody who's got the political stature, and somebody who listens. And I'm told by his friends and those who are closer to him that he is somebody who listens. He's got a very good human relations. These are the the attributes that you need to be able to function effectively in the education sector. That is very complicated, and that is very, very cumbersome. It's a very, very difficult and complex ministry. And his stature, his political stature, his personal ambitions, and everything that he embodies can or would help him push the frontiers of education to a higher level.
Great, and I think you alluded to the point that we're going to go into the technical aspect of it, and I'm very interested in getting to know what you think he should be doing with free SHS if he gets the nod. There's a big conversation about whether I should continue. What will a review entail? There's a big issue with tertiary education and all that. You alluded to some of that. I'll come back to you pretty shortly. But Dela Bofla is also connected with us. Dela, I want to hear what your view is on these particular ministries, the education as well as the youth and empowerment ministry that is going to be headed by Jojo Pariado.
Yeah, good evening, Kwaku, and good evening to your viewers and good evening to your viewers and your listeners. First of all, I would like to thank the president for the appointment he has made so far with respect to finance, education, like you rightly said, legal,
Attorney General.
Attorney General, and then that of energy. I mean, with respect to Haruna, you see, when you have a situation at hand like this, that is to say, if you look at how difficult education sector has been over the period, you need a smart, intelligent, and then a very decisive guy like Haruna to deal with these issues. So he being appointed as education minister.
Hello, Dela. I think I have a challenge with the last line, and I'll get back to him once he's able to successfully connect. But Cheme, you've been in the industry, the education industry in particular. You've been NUC's president once, and NUCs have always had cause to raise a lot of issues in the sector. If Haruna Idrisu is to get the nod and become the minister, what do you think should be his key focus in that ministry?
All right. Few issues, as earlier stated by Peter, most of the issues confronting the Ministry of Education has to do with matters regarding the various strike actions. Because as the NUC's president, I remember we had countless occasions on how we're always approaching the Ministry of Education in dealing with matters regarding UTAC strike, and the various associations and unions strike action. So I feel there should be a long-standing solution to these issues. So in the first term or in the first moment, I feel the first thing it should be done is to constantly engage the unions to find a lasting solution to some of these issues, since it hugely affects the academic calendar. Because you see, over the past years, COVID and all these things have, distracted the academic calendar. These union strike actions continuously exacerbate this whole process of distracting the whole academic calendar. So I feel in the first moment you should do to engage the unions in finding fast and lasting solutions. Again, we should be having stakeholder engagement on the free senior high school policy, so that at the end of the day we could have a better mediums and structures that could be put in place to ensure the smooth running of the policy, because it's hugely benefiting a lot of students. So if at the end of the day, if you have stakeholder engagement and then we institute policies and structures that at a point will streamline its movement, we do believe it's going to go a long way in also helping. Lastly, I want him to also, we are looking at having a lot of extensive youth engagement. engaging with the various student front at the end of the day to also know the challenges ongoing. Because basically, one thing that has been left out is we don't have a connect between the ministry and the various youth groups. So I don't know, they are unable to ascertain or actually know the actual challenges faced by these students. So as a past NUCS president, I do believe if we are able to create that kind of juxtaposition between the youth front and also the Ministry of Education to able to help the ministry to know the actual challenges and also the progress with initiatives and curriculums, what have you, processes that has been implemented to ensure that the Ministry of Education is run. I do believe if all these things are put in place, we'll be able to have a very successful Ministry of Education. Looking at his experience, even as the NUCS president, he actually know the actual issues happening. Looking at his corporate life as an experienced politician, bringing all those things on board, we do believe, and even as a student front, I expecting that at the end of the day, we'll be able to see sanity and even continue the good works established by the SWA administration.
Interesting thoughts that you've shared there. And then Collins, his work is cut out for him. In particular, you look at free SHS. It's not so long ago that we had a conversation about free SHS on this program, detailing some of the problems that have come up in terms of the food situation. We understand government is now distributing more food items towards some of these schools. What should Haruna Idrisu, leading that ministry, do with free SHS in particular?
First of all, we need to have a review about free SHS. We need to have a stakeholder engagement on the way forward, what we need to do, because they've been calls about reviewing it, but the problem has always been, how should we do it? Are we going to allow people who can pay to pay, those who can afford? The parents that can afford, are we going to allow them to pay? And even if we are going to allow them, how are we going to do it? And also the food issues over there. So we need to sit down, engage all the unions, teacher unions, bring parents on board. Even if possible, we can bring in students. We take views, different divergent views on how to solve it. I think that would be the best way, because if one person go and sit somewhere and say that because I am the minister, because I am the government, this is the decision that I have taken and this is the way to go, we are still going to face these issues. Go to the senior high schools and there have been issues with accommodation since the time we started the Ministry of Education, since we started education in Ghana here. Issues of accommodation have been over everywhere all the time, and we've not been able to find lasting solutions to them. Let's continue to have stakeholder engagement on this.
Yeah.
The governments themselves during campaign made promises that they are going to help to build facilities to support the government's plan so that they can be able to end the double track system in the senior high schools. So you can't just start like that and say we should do this. So as part of reviewing it, we look at the best practices of providing lasting solutions to the accommodation issues and the food issues in the senior high school. So apart from the free senior high school, based on your question, apart from that, we can also look at the tertiary levels, because right from senior high school, we are going to tertiary. And government is planning to introduce free tuition for level 100. Recently, we heard one of the government officials, that's a member of the transition team, Honorable Clement Apak, doctor, mentioning that the tertiary education, the free policy won't be compulsory. Well, if that's the case, then that is also going to be problematic. How are we going to do it? Then it's the same as scholarship that we already have. We have numerous scholarships there. So if that's the case, the communication should start. We should go down well. The engagement should also go down well, so that we know how we are going to do it. We focus the challenges that we are going to face ahead, because now accommodation also at the tertiary level is another thing. Right now, you go to the University of Ghana, they've increased residential fees for traditional halls by 20%. If you compare it to last year, what they paid, they've increased it by 20%. They've also increased school fees, the tuition fees. So all these things that we have, yes, there are a lot of challenges in the educational sector. So engagement is one of the key things that we are going to use to solve this. So I think Honorable Haruna Idrisu, if he is being passed or approved by Parliament, you need to look at all these things. Engagement should be one of the key things for him to succeed.
Mo Salam.
Yes, Kwaku.
Yeah, I want to hear your thoughts on this conversation.
Thank you very much. I think my senior brother Peter has already, extensively spoke about what the Honorable Haruna Idrisu brings to the table as a Minister of Education designate with his labor experience, which is communication experience, and probably his persona as Haruna itself. And one of the most important problems that we are facing, one of the most important things at the ministry is the labor relations. Constant strikes, labor issues is something that is, for me personally, I think it should be dealt with. But I think that is the one of the things that we can talk about. But the most important thing about education for me is the basic school, which now comprises of basic 1 up to ACHS. If we do not get the foundation right, we are going to have serious problems with the kind of graduates that we are churning in year in, year out. So my focus would be to see the kind of solution that he's going to bring on board, the kind of reforms, our curricula. In fact, if many people will agree, there was a conversation about this, that there's no curriculum. The students, they've changed the curriculum, but we don't have books for that. Till now, if you ask many people, what are the students learning in our schools, many people will not be able to tell you. And so one of the things that I'm interested in is to see a very clear-cut reform that is going to go into our education system. And like my senior brother said, if you look at the education sector, it's not just a sector, it's a system. And so the problems that we are going to face, or the problems that we are facing, cannot be solved overnight. And another important thing is that I'm not saying people should lower their expectations, but we need to be able to understand that this is not going to be a one-night wonder. And we know that someone like his persona, it comes with much expectations. In fact, there's a conversation that people are having on the street that he's been put there as a trap to see how he's going to fail, so that it will, truncate his political ambitions. I don't want to dwell much on that, but I think he has shown that wherever he's put, he's going to deliver. And like he's always said, that he's going to serve the president in whatever capacity the president thinks. And at this critical juncture in Ghana today, if you look at the history, the current vice president was at the Ministry of Education. The presidential vice presidential candidate for the MPP currently who was at the education ministry. Many people had not even heard about him until he was education minister. If you look at how the Honorable Dr. Ejichum became very popular with what he did at the Ministry of Education. So I think it is a good place for him when you talk about the politics of it. And so for me, I am more about the reform, which I'm looking forward to. And we cannot have a holistic and comprehensive reform without holding broader stakeholder consultations with almost every stakeholder that is important. And so I think that is the first thing he should be going into.
And I think when it comes to consultation, John Dramani Mahama himself has spoken about holding national dialogues. I think there's one on free SHS. There's also one on tertiary education. I think recently also when he met the Vice Chancellor of the University of Ghana, he doubled down on that promise to hold a national consultative forum on these matters. So I think that is really important. The consultation bit is great. Mo, thank you very much. But let me bring you back, Peter. And Doc, I want to know from you what you think should be happening with Free Senior High School in particular. It is what drives that ministry's budget to where it is. Nearly 30 billion Ghana cedis annually, as we saw in the last budget cycle. What should Haruna Idrisu be doing in terms of leading the conversation on the much needed review for that program?
Thank you. Before I answer your question, let me make a little clarification. I don't think curriculum should be an issue that the Minister Cabinet should be thinking about. There was challenges with the primary school curriculum that was implemented some 6 years ago, and that's got to do with the textbooks. Now, from that time, the ministry went ahead to do the junior high school curriculum, which came with the teacher manual and the student manual. Now, the ministry has done the senior high school curriculum, a very comprehensive document that is coming with teacher manuals and student manuals and learning guides. So, the challenge of the textbook belongs to the past because all those things have been corrected, and I think we have to put that information to the general public. There's no challenge with materials for teachers to use in terms of implementing the new curriculums that have been developed for the junior high school, which is the Common Core program, and the senior high school, which is the standard-based curriculum. All right. So that is the point I wanted to make. Again, I think that as Mo said, it is an opportunity for him to touch every single household. I don't see this as a challenge, as he said. People are saying that it's been put there to. No, I don't think so. It's an opportunity to touch every single household. Why do I say that? Every single person in this country is a stakeholder of education. Every single person. It's education and health are like in every house you get somebody going to school. So any little thing that you do in the sector touches the whole household. And I think that that's an opportunity for him to sell himself more to the Ghanaian people. And I know he's going to excel. Now back to free senior high school. This week I authored a paper that's been published on your website and other places. And I'm trying to tell the government that they have 4 years. The government should not think that they have 8 years. So for me, the first thing that they need to do, the challenges of the free senior high school is funding, is finance. If they're able to get the appropriate funding for the policy, 90 to 95% of the problems of the policy would be dealt with. So he should look out for ways and means to fund the policy and fund it in its current form. And then go with what the party said. The party said that they are going to have a consultative meeting assembly with relevant stakeholders across the country. So whilst he's maintaining the current form of the free senior high school, the conversation can begin. I don't think that it is in the interest of the NDC to alter the free senior high school at this time. Why do I say so? You went into an election where there was campaign against you that if you come in, you would change the free senior high school in its current form. And what were they saying? That you would let people come in and pay. Now, the very moment you do that, you have vindicated the position of your opponent. And I tell you, 2028 will be difficult for them. So what you need to do is to look for the money and then fund the policy. And that is why I think in their manifesto, they indicated that they will look out for a sustainable mode of funding the policy. And I think that is the direction that the Honorable Minister should be looking at. How do I sustain this policy by getting a sustainable mode of funding? So there are so many models that are available that you can think about. Even in my paper, I mentioned a lot of them that you can think about to raise money to fund the policy. When you get the money, the next thing you think about is how do you go about the food distribution? The food distribution challenge is because of the centralized nature that we have made it. So everything is coming from one supplier or from Accra, from a central point. You decentralize it. The NDC have said this in their manifesto that they will decentralize the food distribution. So when you make headmasters responsible for feeding, then the headmaster will find ways and means, even if the money is not going, the headmaster will find ways and means to what? To feed the students. The challenge that people will now be told that we don't have food and the headmaster's hands are tied because they are not in control would be a thing of the past. If you are able to do this and you are able to tackle double track is an infrastructure challenge. You cannot build the infrastructure overnight. It will take a lot of time. So you said in your manifesto that you bring in the private schools that have been abandoned. So that you make use of their abandoned infrastructure and then put some of the students there. You can gradually integrate those abandoned private schools and ensure that you lower the extent to which you are implementing double track. Within the next 2-3 years, you might want to put out certain structures on the campuses and then abolish the double track. All these have got to do with what? Money and then funds. And I think that when you are clear in your mind where the money is coming from, as of now, we are funding the policy from the ABFA, the oil money. And the government of Ghana will do some parts. So sometimes they are doing 60-40, 50-50, 30-70. In fact, in 2023, the government funded the policy solely from the oil resource because the government of Ghana was not having enough resources available to support it. And that is why the policy is being a headache to anybody in the sector. So look out for a sustainable mode of funding, lead the charge, but ensure that that conversation is carried out for a long period of time to be able to let it sink in with the Ghanaian people that is the direction that you are going. Else, within the next 4 years, you will be in trouble because you will go back to the people of Ghana in 2028 and they will tell you that we were not paying anything. You came and then you asked us to pay. That is what the other opponent told us. And truly, you have indicated them, and it's going to be a challenge for the party in power.
Very interesting thoughts. The Haruna Idrisu, the ball is in your court. You know that the job is cut out for you. What exactly you have to do, and Ghanaians will be looking forward to judge you. We'll come back pretty shortly to this conversation and do the Youth Empowerment Ministry with about 6 minutes left of our time. But Michael Papania Shali joins us in studio with what you have been saying on social media. Michael, what are people talking about?
Well, let me start from Ama Sewa, right? Ama Sewa senses this from East Legon, and she says maybe Asiedun Ketia should have been made education minister. He's strong-willed. He turned the fortunes of the NDC around, and he could have done same with the education ministry. If not, he needs something like a senior minister. That's Ama Sewa from East Legon. Let's go to Mukhtar. I believe I'm getting that right quick, right? Mukhtar.
Yeah, Mukhtar.
Mukhtar from Ejisu says, we're just asking, where is Sam George? Will he be given an appointment? I think he did well mounting pressure on the former administration. Thank you, Mukhtar. Let's go to the Volta region, and the nominations made by the president is spot on. And we can't ask for more because these are the guys who will help the John and Jane duo to reset Ghana. And then we'll also be able to tell you that people within my community are lauding these appointments. This is from Abla Rose at Cape St. Paul Lighthouse in the Volta region. That's quite a few here, but this one, Kweku, I have to say definitely. It says that, good evening, Kweku. I am logged on to the dial from Bogatanga, Boama, Desmond, a.k.a. Tempa Kula. Thank you very much for connecting with us as well.
Tempa Kula, thank you very much for always tuning in. Let's get back to this conversation about the youth ministry that John Dramani Mahama promised in the lead up to the election. Ministry of Youth and Youth Empowerment. And that is what he has done with George Opariado leading the charge. Divan Adam Kwajo there is connecting with us on this part also. Divan, briefly, how crucial will this ministry be in John Mahama delivering on his mandate and his promise to create jobs, especially for young people?
All right, thank you very much, Kweku. Good evening to my fellow panelists, and a good evening to all our viewers and listeners. And so there is a context to the creation of the Ministry of Youth Development. Now, it is tried knowledge by now that the supermajority of Ghanaians are young people, people within the ages below 35. And so if you are in a country and you have the supermajority of your people being young people, then obviously you need to mainstream issues that concern their development and empowerment. Now, until now, the ministry that has been responsible for that has been the Ministry of Youth and Sports. What we have realized over the past few decades, since the advent of the Fourth Republic, is that youth has always been lumped up with sports and some time ago, education. Now, by virtue of the fact that education and sports are issues that are very huge on their own, the attention of the ministries have always been focused, in the case of education, on education to the detriment of youth development, and in the case of sports, on sports to the detriment of youth development. And so in 2020, in the 2020 People's Manifesto, President John Mahama promised that should he be elected, he was going to take the Ministry of Youth away from the Ministry of Sports so that we can mainstream youth development issues.
So because now, we are just about, we don't have so much time, I just want you to zoom right into the specifics of how it helps in creation of jobs. There are those who would say that maybe that's duplicitous because you have a lot of institutions, the YES and the likes that should do the job. You perhaps don't need a minister at the top to be coordinating all these.
Okay, so true, there are agencies, just like every ministry has agencies. but the ministry is going to serve as the overarching supervisory and central engine room where all these youth development initiatives are going to be coordinated. Because previously you have YA working alone, you have NYA working alone, you have National Entrepreneurship and Innovation Program working alone, you have the National Service Scheme working. Now they are all going to be brought under the Ministry of Youth Development, and this Ministry of Youth Development is going to make sure that there is the coordination so that we are not working in silos. So that is the main purpose of the Ministry of Youth Development, if that answers your question.
Interesting. Dela Bofla, I hope you are back and your line is good. There are those who are expressing concerns about this perhaps becoming an avenue for the NDC, because this is the National Youth Organizer of the NDC going to head that ministry. And then perhaps this is just going to be NDC persons going through that ministry and getting all the jobs. Is that the same sense you get? Dela Bofla. Then Divine, take that for me in 30 seconds. Is there any real assurance that that ministry does not become an NDC ministry for youth and youth empowerment?
I mean, it is an NDC government, isn't it? And so obviously, as a political party, we have the human resource to move this nation forward. And so why won't we employ a human resource that a party has built? I mean, who should we go and employ to become the minister?
So not in terms of the minister, but in terms of the byproduct of the jobs that will be created. That is the point I was driving at.
No, definitely not. John Mahama has promised an all-inclusive government. He has promised a government for all Ghanaians. And so this Ministry of Youth Development is not going to say, I mean, you should show your party card before an opportunity would be given to you. So far as you're a Ghanaian youth, you are qualified, the Youth Development Ministry is there for you. I mean, and it's an NDC thing. We have never been discriminatory. We do not govern like the NPP to say, oh, you need to have an NPP party card, you need to pay this sum of money before you can get an opportunity. No.
So that's not going to be the case. We all hope, certainly do hope so. And of course, in the coming weeks, we're going to serialize some of these ministries and get to work on what exactly they are going to be doing and the persons who've been put at the helm and how they are going to deliver. There's of course, a lot of talk on social media about who is going where, where John Mahama said to name 11 more by next week to take over that positions that will form the core of his cabinet. But Andy Dusty is up next with the library. You don't have to miss. And again, news file is on tomorrow. Ministerial vetting, public tribunals and oral questions justified, anti-gay bill, debt, all these and more on news file from 8 a.m. to 12 noon with Samson Ladi. And then in the 4 hours of action-packed conversations, you don't want to miss any of that. And for those persons who are still lobbying to get their positions, it is still very hot. And thank you very much, all of you, for listening. My name is Kwaku Asante. Thank you very much, Collins. Dr. Patti, thank you very much. Mo Salam and Danny. Thank you very much, Tremi, the former Nooks president. And thank you very much, Dela Bofla. And then Divine Edem Kwajode. We'll see you again, same time next week.
Are you? Nane beka